Hi guys, I'm the Pottymouth Guru and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Cue music.
Potty, she talking naughty. Here to help your trouble, she don't judge nobody. Even if you're not at your top and it's a lie, she try to make you see a different train of thought.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm a therapist and transformational coach, and I am here to help you learn how to unfuck yourself. Today's topic for this video is inner child work. And inner child work is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. This is one of the main modalities that I work with in my practice, and the one that's been by far the most helpful for my own personal healing and growth. I view this work as one of the most effective ways to get into the depths of our subconscious and down to the ground zero of all of our triggers, self-sabotaging behaviors, and limiting belief systems. You might be thinking to yourself, why do I want to learn this shit? Why is this important to me? I'll tell you. Do you feel fucked up and don't know why? Are you a perfectionist? Do you always feel like you're getting into the same fucked up situations in your relationships, friendships, and job situations? Do you experience oversensitivity? Do you often feel helpless and like a victim? Do you have consistent low-grade depression? Do you experience feelings of overwhelm and like you can't cope? Is shame and guilt a thing for you? Do you experience feelings that you are unworthy and unlovable? If you answered yes to any of those, come on down! You have experienced a separation from self as a child that fragmented your inner self to create defense mechanisms that think they're protecting you because they once did, but now are of detriment and show up in the form of limiting, self-sabotaging, and even potentially toxic belief systems and behaviors that are fucking up your self-esteem and ultimately your life. So what are you going to get from this video? Okay, so here are the things that you're going to get from this video today. What the fuck is it? Some stuff about original pain and attachment wounds, as well as some stuff about trauma. How it can help heal your old wounds from your childhood. Some resources that you can turn to. Some tips of how you can use this work to help unfuck yourself from the shit that is holding you motherfucking back. So this topic is a very wide one, and there's only so much that I'm able to cover in this video. So if there's anything that I touch on that you're like, oh fuck, I want to see more about that, please comment in the comments below and let me know what that is, and I will definitely do a video about that because there's just so much to do with this and talk about with this. Okay? Okay, so first things first, let's try and define inner child work. Inner child work. It's the process of self-discovery and gaining access to our childlike selves at the age of our hurts and traumas. The intention is to heal the pain at the root cause in order to eliminate limiting, self-sabotaging, and potentially toxic belief systems and behavioral patterns. The ones that prevent us from moving forward and living our best fucking lives. So ultimately, it's a really amazing path to gain access to our original pain. What's original pain? Original pain, childhood hurts, losses, neglect, and traumas. When we experience something traumatic as kids, a part of us stunts there, stays at that age, and is unable to see past the pain and hypervigilance acquired as a result. It becomes unable to see that it has grown up. So anything that happens in life at any age that resembles or reminds us of that pain, it instantly takes us back to the first time that it ever happened, and our response is the same as it was the first time. It becomes the software that plays in the background all the time, and it is the birth of our ants. See my ants video, automatic negative thoughts. So at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, well, like, dude, I didn't go through any crazy shit, but I'm still really fucked up. What the fuck? I'll tell you what the fuck. Okay, so if you haven't gone through anything that's considered a big T trauma, there's a lot of little T traumas that can add up, that can become really distressing to us, and can cause traumatic responses, can cause our nervous system to get all fucked up and behave in a way that it would if you had gone through something that is a big T trauma. So now you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck is the difference between a big T trauma and a little T trauma? First of all, nothing. There is nothing little about little t trauma. But let me give you some examples of big T trauma and little t trauma so you can understand and figure out where you might fall into this mix of stuff. So big T trauma are like the super disturbing events that can happen in our life that can cause PTSD. And that would be things like war, violent crime, serious car accidents, domestic abuse, rape, sexual abuse. So there's other things that go into these lists. I'm just letting you know some examples so that you kind of get a feel for it. And now little t trauma. Little t trauma are ongoing situations that cause distress, fear, and a sense of hopelessness. Examples of this are emotional abuse, a parent with mental illness or substance abuse issues, medical issues, loss of significant loved ones, divorce, financial troubles, abrupt or extended periods of relocation. So again, you might be like, hey man, I have all these abandonment issues, but none of this shit happened to me. So I heard a story when I was in school that a teacher told that really blew my mind, and I was like, holy shit balls, it's like a game-changing piece of information that makes all the sense in the world. So the story goes like this. So there's a little girl, she's about 2 or 3, and she lost her favorite dolly. She runs into the kitchen, she's like, mommy, I can't find my favorite dolly, please help me find it. And mommy can't this time because mommy still has her fucking coat on from work, dinner's burning on the fucking stove, little Kenny's late for soccer, she's on the phone, she's a single mom, whatever the story is, and she turns around and without any kind of violence or abuse or anything, she turns around to her kid, she says, I can't help you right now, I'm busy. And in that world, that little girl is abandoned. So kids before the age of 3 don't know that they're actually separate from their parents. So when a parent isn't able to be there for that child for a number of different reasons, because this is not about blaming parents, okay? Really important note, not blaming parents. This has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that hurt people, and they have their own childhood wounds, and so we have our own childhood wounds, and it doesn't have to come from some fucking crazy ass, abusive parent that puts his smokes out on your eyeballs or something like that. And if that happened to you, I'm desperately sorry. I'm just letting people know that didn't go through crazy situations like that simple things like that story can add up to something that will be very distressing. So hurts and traumas can be born from events like that. So now that little girl, every time she experiences anything that resembles that abandonment in that moment, she's gonna be like, fuck, I've been abandoned. I will now jump into this defense mechanism that works for me in this situation. And so that's something that's really important to mention, is that kids are absolutely brilliant. They come up with the coolest shit that help them not feel pain in those situations. It's a gift, right? So all of these coping strategies that we have, whether they're good for us or not, have been a gift in the past. It's just that they become of detriment to us in the future and in our adult lives. And so that's the stuff that we need to unpack. So there are plenty of situations like this that happen that cause attachment wounds. And attachment wounds and trauma are attachment wound, an injury or trauma that happens in infancy and or childhood where the inner world was not understood or recognized and accepted by the primary caregivers. That need not being met results in the nervous system going into fight or flight or shutting down and disconnecting to that need. That child then internalizes that message into, I am unimportant and unworthy of recognition. So clearly this is a lie, but it's understandable and appropriate with the brain development of the child at that time. So how can inner child work help heal our old wounds and traumas? Well, there's lots of different ways. There are guided visualizations that help us reframe those original moments. There is journaling and becoming self-aware. There are affirmations. There's doing reparenting work, which I'm going to be doing a video about next week because this is epic self-work. I'm so excited to share that with you. And this is the type of work where you meet the unmet needs that you had as a child and help heal those attachment wounds, connect with those rejected parts of yourself, the ones that are looking for that acceptance, and love that we never got when we were children in those moments that we might have been abandoned or hurt. To help you understand how this work works is I will share a story with you of something that happened with me recently and how inner child work helped me overcome it. My other profession other than being a therapist is I am a performer. I walked away from this world for almost 10 years before 4 years ago getting back into it. And one of the reasons I did is because I dealt with like completely debilitating performance anxiety and stage fright. Not the normal kind where you're like, hey man, I'm really fucking nervous and like, here we go, get on stage. It's like weeks leading up to it. And after starting to perform after 4 years, I didn't really experience this until recently. So a few months ago, I had a gig and it was a one-off show. A one-off show is something that you do once. And I mean, that shit takes years off of performers' lives. Anyone out there who's a performer knows exactly what the motherfucker I'm talking about. Because when you have a show that like has a run, you're like really fucking nervous for opening night and then the rest is like, okay, off we go to work. This one-off show didn't really go the way that I wanted it to, and somehow this really old shit got triggered inside of me and I became totally terrified because I had my own show, first self-produced show here in Newfoundland with my friend. We have a 2-woman cabaret that we put on together, and it was a really big deal, and it was only a one-night show. And I had like weeks of going through I had panic attacks. I had like crying spells. I was not doing well at all with this. And this isn't like a few days before the show you get nervous. This is like weeks leading up to the point where I can't get my life done because my anxiety is so high. So I had a session with my therapist who did a reframe. So reframe is a guided visualization where you look at the first time that you might have felt this like crazy shit as a result of something. I had been going to art schools my whole life. So from grade 4 all the way to post-secondary, I was in a performing arts school. And in grade 4 and 5, you're like 9, 10, we had to learn full monologues, regular monologues, and Shakespeare monologues. It was really, really epic work. It was also really hard. And at the time, I had undiagnosed ADHD, and my home was like a fucking war zone emotionally. So I really struggled to learn these monologues. And so there were many times that I didn't have them fully memorized, and sometimes I didn't have them memorized at all. And something that happened, and now like this isn't like blaming my teachers, it's like they didn't really know any better at the time, and we've learned a lot since then. And this was kind of like that old paradigm of let me teach via humiliation. And again, this isn't me pointing fingers being like fuck you motherfucker, it's just it still happened. And you know, that tough love thing doesn't work for kids. Once you get into like the teen stuff, sure, but for kids underneath that, brain development wise, it's traumatic for them. So what would happen would be that the teacher would let me stand there silently, not saying anything to me, and me not being able to say anything because I forgot. And I'd be standing there and they'd make me stand there, and it could have been like 30 seconds or even 10 seconds. But when you're 9 or 10, that shit feels like 10 fucking minutes of silence and just standing there in like total fucking shame and guilt. And then I would get reamed out for like not doing my homework. And then I would sit down and kids would snicker and bully me. And I was like super bullied at that age anyways. And this happened multiple times. And so this was the birthplace of ultimate horror show shame and terror that, you know, like every time I have to get up in front of someone that I'm going to forget my shit. And I do forget my shit. Like it's like a thing for me. I forget my lines and I forget lyrics. It's part of the ADHD. And, you know, if I didn't have this fear, maybe I'd be better with it. You know, this is a limiting self-belief that I have that whatever, I'm working through it. So what we did in this session, so it was a guided visualization where she took me back into that classroom and we got to unpack it a little bit. And some of the things that happened were that we got to talk to my little at that age to see what was going on for her. And I was able to give her what she needed. So I was able to act as like her parent. And I hugged her and I told her everything's okay and that this doesn't matter and that the teacher didn't know any better. I got a chance to yell at the teacher and, you know, that they were full of shit and it was the wrong thing to do. And, you know, how fucking dare you? Like I stood up for myself with my little, which is what I always wanted when I was little, is someone to protect me and to stand up for me. And then we released some of that anger and rage together. I also told the kids to go fuck themselves, because you can't really do that in real life, but in a guided visualization, you sure fucking can. And so I came out of that situation being in like a totally different place. It's not that the anxiety was all gone, but the heat from this one exercise, the heat was so much less. And so it eliminated some of the intense terror that came along with this, and I was able to move forward. So this is one of the ways that inner child work through the form of guided visualization can help with old traumas and anxieties. So I hope that this makes you open to giving it a shot with your therapist if they do this kind of work, or maybe to seek it out if you feel like it might be for you. So how do you do this work on your own? So if you're totally brand new to this kind of work and you never heard about it and you're like, what the fuck is this? Of course, I'm going to suggest to you that doing it in a facilitated environment is what's going to get you the ball rolling for this kind of work. But it doesn't mean that you can't do it for yourself. And maybe you are familiar with this work. Maybe you have done some of this stuff before and you're wondering, how can I do this on my own? So I'm definitely going to be giving you some fantastic resources about inner child work in the description box. So please look at the description box. I'm going to have books for you, videos for you, podcasts for you, guided meditations for you to do. Something that you can take away and do at home for yourself to get the ball rolling for this inner child work is something that I talk about all the time, and that is journaling. But first, what are you going to be journaling? So the key with this work is to become aware. So this is when really hot emotions come up, really uncomfortable stressors, triggers come up. So it can be like anger and rage and sadness and rejection and abandonment and all those feelings that make you feel really fucked up. Start to notice when those things are happening. Have a log of stuff. So this is very similar if you've seen my aunt's video. What you can do in those moments is stop, take a breath, close your eyes, and just ask, okay, little, you're tripping right now really hard. So what do you need? And it's not about wants. It's not about I want to tell that person to go fuck themselves, because then that's giving the power back to the inner child. You want to take your power back and give your child what they've never had. And so it's about, what do you need? Maybe it's going to say, hey man, I really need to go for a walk to clear my fucking head. I just need to get out of the situation. This is too much for me. So you're going to go for a walk and clear your head. Maybe it's going to be I need to hear that I'm okay and that I'm worthy of love. So you say, I love you, little. I got your back. You are not alone. I will never leave you. So the goal is to start developing a relationship with your inner child at whatever age, it doesn't matter, so that you can start healing those old wounds. There is a lot more to it than just that, but this is a really great tip of the iceberg start for this work, and it will make a difference. It's gonna feel weird as fuck at the beginning. I've had so many clients resist this and be like, this is stupid. I don't wanna fucking do this, because it's feels awkward and weird because it's different. But every single fucking one of them, and if they're watching, they're gonna laugh and be like, I remember that. They all came back and said, okay, so that inner child shit. Well, I really wanna try it again. And so I realized in that moment, okay, now they're ready. They weren't ready before, but now they're ready, because they have understood with the work that they're doing that they have to get to a ground zero, and that inner child work is an amazing way to get there. So next week, we're going to be covering reparenting, which is a wonderful way to do the work on your own at home. So it's not just about discovering your little and establishing a relationship. Very, 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 very fucking important, for sure. Also, then, what do you do? Where do you go from there? And reparenting is one of the ways to do that. So please stay tuned for next week's video that's going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff about how to reparent yourself in a kind, loving, and gentle way. So you know what I want to know? I want to know, have you discovered your inner child yet? And if so, what's your relationship like with them? I really want to know. So please comment below and tell me your story about you and your inner child. Thanks so much for tuning into my video. I'm really glad you were here for this one, and I really hope to see you next week. I am wishing you all the best. Have an amazing week, and I hope you pick up on lots of stuff in life that will help you learn how to unfuck yourself. Peace out, bitches.